All right, Lauren, can you hit that back button, please? Today we're going to finish up our 30, 60, 90 triangles. And actually, we're going to review everything that's going to show up on that quiz that you're going to take on Thursday. But nothing new today. Today's just review. Today's going to end up being our third day here on section 3. But like I said, we're going to review stuff that's going to be on the quiz. So we're going to go back and get a little bit of section 2 also. All right, when you get to the quiz on Thursday, basically we're going to give you a triangle and you're going to have to figure out how to solve for a missing side. And you're going to use one of 3 things to do it. You're going to use the Pythagorean theorem, 45, 45, 90 triangle, or 30, 60, 90 triangle. And it'll just be a matter of figuring out which one you have to use to go ahead and solve for the answer you're looking for. So all of these are going to tell you to find, they're either going to say find x or find x and y. Some of them don't have a y in the problem, but we'll put that in the directions just in case they do. And all of them you're going to get are going to be right triangles. Let's start with this one. We have a right triangle with sides of 6, 9, and x. We need to find x on this one. And now you just got to figure out which type of triangle you have. When you look at it, does it tell us it's a 45, 45, 90? No. Does it tell us it's 30, 60, 90?
No.
No. All you have is a right triangle. When all you have is a right triangle, you have to do Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Then it's just a matter of being careful of putting the right parts in. C is going to be your hypotenuse, which is always across from the right angle. That's 9. A and B are going to be the 6 and the x. Doesn't matter which order you put them in. And then you solve this. 6 squared is 36. We have x squared. 9 squared is 81. Then we're going to subtract 36 from both sides. Let's see, 81 minus 36 is 45. And we want to leave our answers in simplest radical form. So to solve for x squared, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Square root of x squared is x. And then that square root of 45, if we go back to our list of perfect squares, other than 1, is there a perfect square that's a factor of 45? 9 would work. 9 times 5 gives you 45. And we know what the square root of 9 is. Square root of 9 is 3. So in simplest radical form, we have 3 times the square root of 5. Square root of 5 we can't break down. There's no perfect square that's a factor of 5. Other than 1, but we don't use 1. 1 is a factor of everything. All right, there's one with Pythagorean theorem. Any questions with that? All right, let's try this one. Another right triangle, but this time they give you a 45-degree angle in one corner. And on this one, we need to find x, which ends up being a hypotenuse. But as you look at your triangle on this one, you see the 45-degree angle here, you got a 90, and then that automatically tells you this one's going to be 45 also. We have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And then if you remember your formula for the 45, 45, 90 triangle, hypotenuse is going to equal a leg times the square root of 2. And then it's just a matter of putting your parts in. Hypotenuse on this one is x. The leg is 6. Both legs are 6. We only need to put one of them in. You got the square root of 2 behind it. 6 times the square root of 2 is simplest radical form, so that one is finished right there. That's the easy version of the 45, 45, 90. Let's give you another one where it's a little more complicated. On this one, they're going to put the 45s in both angles. So we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. This time, they're going to give you the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is 16. The leg is x. Once again, when you look at your picture, you see 45, 45, 90, so you know you're going to use your formula for 45, 45, 90. Hypotenuse is equal to a leg times the square root of 2. And again, we'll put the parts in. Hypotenuse on this one is 16. The leg is x, and got the square root of 2 behind it. And now we're back to solving. For x, you want to get x all by itself. To do that, we'll divide both sides by the square root of 2. We do that because those reduce down to 1, leaving you just 1x on the right. And then on the left, I'm going to leave a little room here because we have 16 over the square root of 2. Can we leave a square root in the denominator? Nope. So we're going to multiply by a fraction equivalent to 1 that contains the square root of 2. That fraction would be the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. And if you take it from there, multiplying across the top, which is 16 times the square root of 2. If we do our shortcut on the bottom, what's square root of 2 times square root of 2? 2. Can this be reduced?
Yes.
Yep. 16 and 2 can both be divided by 2. So we'll do that right away. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Your answer in simplest radical form would be 8 times the square root of 2. All right, there is Pythagorean theorem and 2 with the 45, 45, 90. Does anybody need to see more of those? We will see both of those on the quiz on Friday or on Thursday. We're good with those? Okay, let's go to our 30, 60, 90 then. And when you get to your quiz, you're going to be able to identify 30, 60, 90 because they're going to put either a 30 or a 60 in one of the corners, or they may put both. On this one, they're just giving us a 30. But again, if you do the math here, if you add up all 3 angles in a triangle, you get 180. 90 and 30 add up to 120. Take 180 minus 120, you're left with 60 for this angle up here. So as soon as you see the 30-degree angle and the 90-degree angle, you automatically know the other one is 60. And on this one, they're going to, let's see, they're going to give us, the bottom side is 10 times the square root of 3. We're going to find the other two sides, x and y. And you're still pretty new at doing these 30, 60, 90. So if you want to identify each side, it might be worth doing. Across from the right angle is your hypotenuse. Across from the 30-degree angle, is that going to be the longer or the shorter leg?
Shorter.
That's the shorter leg. And across from your 60 is the longer leg. And then we have 2 equations for 30, 60, 90 triangle. First equation, your hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the shorter leg. And we'll leave a little bit of room here. Your second equation is the longer leg is equal to the shorter leg times the square root of 3. Okay, now we just put the parts in. Hypotenuse on this one is y. We have a 2, and then we want the shorter leg. Shorter leg is x. Y equals 2x. Can I solve that?
No.
Nope. So can't solve it. Two different variables. We're going to skip that for now. We'll come back to it later and go to the second equation. Second equation, longer leg is 10 times the square root of 3. That's going to equal the shorter leg, which is x times the square root of 3. Now this one looks a little bit different, but we do it the exact same way. We want to solve for x, get the x all by itself. What would we do to both sides to get the x all of them? Not multiply.
Divide by square root.
We're going to divide by the square root of 3. And again, the reason for doing that, square root of 3 over square root of 3 reduces down to 1, leaves you an x on the right-hand side. Same thing's going to happen on the left. Square root of 3 divided by square root of 3 becomes 1. 10 times 1 is 10. We've solved for the x. Now, once you know the x, you can go back to your first equation and put it in. Y equals 2 times x. We'll put that 10 in for x. 2 times 10 is 20. All right, any questions with that? All right, let's try another. This time, they're going to show us both angles, the 30 and the 60. A lot of times they just show you one. This time they're showing you both. And the side they're going to give us is going to be a 12 over here. The other two sides are x and y. And I'm going to start off the exact same way. I'm going to identify the sides of our 30, 60, 90 triangle. Across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. Across from the 60 is the longer leg. Across from the 30 is the shorter leg. Then we'll put our two equations down again. Hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the shorter leg. And the longer leg is equal to the shorter leg times the square root of 3. Now I had meant to put these two equations up, or these two equations plus the 45, 45, 90 equations. I meant to put those on the board. I'll do that here before your quiz on Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to give you these equations. It's just going to be a matter of you figuring out what parts to put into each one of those. But I'll have it on the board, these two equations and the 45, 45, 90 equations. Those will be on the board for you, so you don't have to memorize those. Next year, when you go to Algebra 2, hopefully you'll do it enough times. By the time you go to Algebra 2, you'll have these memorized. But if you don't, you'll need to memorize them next year. All right, let's take care of the first one here. Hypotenuse is x. We have 2 times the shorter leg is y. Run into the exact same problem we did the first time. X equals 2y, we can't solve that because it has two different variables. So we'll skip that for now, go to the second equation. Longer leg, and this one is 12. That's going to equal the shorter leg, which is y, times the square root of 3. Okay, and just like before, to get the y all by itself, we'll divide both sides by the square root of 3. Square root of 3 is reduced down to 1, leaving you a y. Left-hand side, though, I need to do a little more work here. Can't leave a square root in the denominator. So we have 12 over the square root of 3. To rationalize that denominator, to get rid of that square root in the denominator, we're going to multiply by a fraction equivalent to 1. That includes the square root of 3. That would be the square root of 3 over square root of 3. Multiplying across the top gives you 12 times the square root of 3. Your shortcut on the bottom, square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. 12 and 3 can be reduced. Those can both be divided by 3. So we'll do that right away. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Simplest radical form, we have 4 times the square root of 3. And now that we got that, we can go back and put it in to figure out the first part. X equals 2y. We just found y to be 4 times the square root of 3. And if you remember from yesterday, when you have 2 times 4 times the square root of 3, we're going to multiply the numbers out front first, and then keep the square root of 3 behind it. 2 times 4 is 8, square root of 3 behind it. 2 times 4 times the square root of 3 is 8 times the square root of 3. I feel like we did that problem already yesterday. Does that one look familiar to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, raise your hand if this is starting to get familiar with you. You're starting to get it figured out. Okay, we're getting there. Let's do one more together. Then we'll decide from there what we want to do. Here's our 30, 60, 90 triangle. 2 legs are going to be x and y. They're going to give us the hypotenuse is 16. And start by identifying our parts. On the picture, hypotenuse is across from your right angle. Across from 60 is your longer leg. And across from 30 is the shorter leg. And then we can write our 2 equations down. First equation, hypotenuse equals 2 times the shorter leg. Second equation, the longer leg equals short leg times the square root of 3. Just out of curiosity, how many people have these 2 formulas memorized already? Okay, so that's pretty good too. You don't have to memorize it this year, but next year you will. All right, let's put our parts into this one. First equation, hypotenuse is 16. That's going to equal 2 times the shorter leg. Shorter leg is x. 16 equals 2x. We know how to solve that. To get the x all by itself, you divide by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8.
Isn't y short?
Uh-oh, did I do it wrong? Oh, I did it wrong, didn't I? Thank you. Let's start that over. Hypotenuse is 16. We have 2 times the short leg. Yes, y is the short leg. Yep. Then I divide by 2. So y is going to be 8. All right, that saved us a lot of trouble. Thanks for catching that. 8 is y. Now we got that first equation done. Now we put in the second equation. Longer leg is x. Shorter leg is y. You got the square root of 3 behind it. You have 2 variables, so you can't solve when you have 2 variables, but we just found y. So I can take this 8 for y, put it in down here. When I do that, I get 8 times the square root of 3. That is simplest radical form, so that's as far as you have to go. All right, how many think are feeling pretty good about the 30, 60, 90 at this point? Raise your hand if you need to see another. I've got a couple more examples if you want them. Raise your hand if you want to see another. Okay, if you change your mind and you want to see some more, I've got some examples. You can come back to my desk and I can show those to you. All right, that is enough then for today. Now, if you take your packet out, we've got 2 assignments for today, which I have highlighted in orange up here. This first assignment, some of you started yesterday. It's that second part of the page 562. So when you finish that today, you're going to bring both parts of that page 562 back and show it to me. I'll put that in the grade book today. And then the 8283 review, that's in your packet here. It looks like this one here. It's got 2 pages to it, front and the back. And that one, we're going to start that today. Hopefully you get it done today in class. When you come to class on Thursday, I'm going to give you the first 20 minutes of class to finish this up if you haven't yet. And then we'll go into the quiz after that. So if you don't quite get this done today, we'll give you a little bit more time on Thursday to finish that up before the quiz. So if you get them both done today, bring them both back. We'll put them in the grade book. If you don't, bring back that 562. We'll get that one in the grade book today for sure. All right, you have the rest of the time to get that stuff done.